Hello, it is Erica with Holy Rustic, and we are here today to paint this month's wagon kit. So this is our kit from last month. It was this adorable St. Patty's Day wagon, and it is almost time to switch it out for our Easter wagon. So I have our set here on the table, and we're going to get started painting. I'm going to switch you around so you can see what's on the table. And we will get started. So this month's kit is this really cute little Happy Days bunny. It's perfect for Easter and spring. Of course, inside your Wagon Club box, you're going to get your inspiration photo, some basic directions, and your coupon code that you can use. And then you're going to get your paint kit with all of your paint, your sponge, and your glue. And then all your pieces. So let's get started painting. I'm going to set my picture over here. Maybe. There we go. And we will get started. So come on in, say hey. Let me know if you've gotten your Wagon Club box in the mail and if you have painted it yet, or if you're excited to paint it. I think this one is really cute, and I am excited to get it painted. All right, so we're going to start with some brown, and these poor brushes have been sitting here for a while. I am really bad about washing out brushes. I should have grabbed some clean water. It's all good. All right, we're going to start with a little bit of brown, and we're going to paint in the signpost here for our farm sign. I'm not going to worry because these sign pieces are 3D, so we're not worried about those. We're just mainly painting the post here. I picked up brown, a little bit of white, and we're just mainly painting that center part. That's what we're going to be able to see. So we're just going to brush that on. I do not paint the edges of my pieces because they have that nice laser burned edge. So I try my best to be nice and neat and not get paint on those. So that was a pretty easy piece to paint up. Let's switch to white next. Our Happy Days sign is going to be white. And again, we have 3D pieces to go over those edged lines. So I can just go right over top of those with my brush. My brush has a lot of water in it. It's okay. Anytime you see where your paint is not covering very well, it is probably because when you rinsed your brush out, you left a lot of water in there, and so that paint is mixing with the water and not giving you very good coverage. It's all right. It just means you're going to need several coats, so that's okay. So we'll just go over this. That's our brush. Trying not to paint the edges there. And I'll let that dry. We'll come back and give it a second coat here in a few moments. Our bunny is also kind of a marbly color. So we're going to start with some white for the base coat, and then I will show you the technique I'm going to use to get that kind of marbly look on him. The great thing about these kits is you can change them up however you want, so you don't have to use the colors that I'm using or the colors that are in the picture. You can do your own thing and do them however you want. Let me know in the comments if you would ever like to see me paint the kit not like the photo in the box, or if you prefer that I do it just like the picture. Let me know your thoughts. I've thought about switching it up and kind of doing the kit differently than what is in the box, the picture in the box, but I was afraid that might mess some of you up and you might not enjoy that. So let me know what your thoughts are. Would you like to see this painted a different way, or do you enjoy seeing it painted exactly like the photo so you can paint along? All right, this is just a base piece for our grass and stuff to help everything stand up a little bit better in this wagon. So I'm just giving it a coat of white. It doesn't even really need to be great because no one's going to see it. It's going to be tucked down in the bottom of our wagon. So we'll set that over to the side, and then we need to do the farm sign and our carrots, bunnies, and egg hunt sign. I definitely want to do these with a sponge because I don't want to push paint down into those etched lines. So we'll wait on those just a second. I'm going to grab our hair dryer, and we're just going to give these a quick dry so we can go ahead and put another coat on them. So for those of you who missed it, this is our Wagon Club kit for the month of April. This month's, or March, sorry, it's March, not April. For the month of March, this month's kit is Easter themed. So it's this adorable little bunny, it says Happy Days, has some little grass and some eggs, a really cute little set. And of course, our tiered tray this month is also Easter themed, and our DIY box of the month is Easter themed as well. When do you start putting up your Easter decor? Do you put up Easter decor now, after you take down your St. Patty's Day decor, or closer to the date? I don't always decorate for St. Patrick's Day, but this year we had our DIY box and our Tiered Tray Club box and our Wagon Club that were all St. Patty's Day. So I do have a few St. Patty's Day decorations up, and probably once I take those down, I'll go ahead and put up my Easter stuff. I just love having different things out for the seasons. I feel like it just makes my home look a little more homey. All right, I'm just giving this a second coat. This is definitely going to need a third coat. I'm not too worried about that bunny because we're going to do a little marbling technique on him. So that one does not, I'm not terribly worried about that. I'm just going to make sure that this is good and dry. And we'll go ahead and do another coat. And you could just paint that bunny one color if you want, but I want to do something just a little different with him. All right. 3 coats is going to do it on this. I think if I had not had so much water in my brush for the first coat, 2 might have done me okay, but it's all right. We're going to go with 3. Remember, it's better to do thin coats than to try to put all the paint on there at one time. You don't have to cake the paint on. We did start shipping out boxes a little bit earlier this month. Usually boxes don't start shipping out until the 15th of the month, and then your box ships depending on when your payment drafts. But if your payment has already pulled for this month's box, you probably have already gotten your Wagon Club shipment email and your DIY box of the month email, and then the Tiered Tray Club boxes will be going out this week as well. So the reason why those are shipping out just a little bit sooner than normal is because I will be out of town later this month, and so I wanted to be sure that everybody had their boxes who could have them as soon as possible. All right, so I am switching gears here, and we're painting in this grass that goes down along the bottom, and I'm just using my brush and my green. I have a darker green here, kind of a very nice grassy green for spring, and we're just going to paint that in. I think 1 coat is going to do it on that. So there is our grass. Whoop. Set that over to the side to dry. There is another small piece, oh, here it is, of grass that needs to be painted as well. So we'll go ahead and do that one. Just this, whoops, little piece of grass here. And then on your flowers, you have kind of a couple of things going on here. So you've got the stems and then the actual outlines of the flowers, and then you have the underneath side as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that same green that we used for our grass. I'm going to lighten it just a little bit with some of my brighter green. And I'm only going to paint the green parts. So I'm doing these kind of, oops, nope. Okay, well, that's all right. Oh, did not want to paint that. I was trying to not paint the flowery parts because those are going to be a different color, but it's fine. We'll just do all of this and then we'll come back. So we'll just do this whole thing in this lighter green. It's kind of minty. Let's pull a little more of that yellowy green in here. And I probably should have done this with the sponge, because I am pushing a bunch of paint down inside of here, but that's okay. You do whatever works for you. Some people really like to paint the edges of their pieces, and some people do not. So it is totally up to you. I am kind of painting some of the edges here because I got a little messy with my paint, and I should have used the sponge to do this and not my brush. I just got excited and was just painting. That's okay. Everything is fixable. You can just let it dry and paint over top of it. It is not the end of the world. All right, we're gonna let that dry, and then we'll come back and do the pink parts that needed to be pink that I accidentally painted the wrong color. Okay, we are gonna pick up that yellow green while we've got this green on our brush, and we're going to paint just the leafy parts of this background piece. That green is really thin, so I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, not water, white, just to give it a little more coverage, because I don't want to have to do this fussy part more than once. I may have to. It's just a very yellow heavy green, and so it's not showing up very well, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm not worried about the stems because this 3D piece is going to cover that. I'm really just painting these leaf pieces that are going to show. And we'll come back. That's going to need a second coat, so we'll come back to that. Let's do our little bunny guy here. And the way I'm going to do this kind of marbly look is I'm going to take part of the plastic that came in my kit, and I apologize for the noise. I'm going to just kind of crunch it up in my hand, and I'm going to dip into a little bit of white and a tiny bit of black. I just want kind of a gray, and I'm going to come over here and just kind of dip and turn, and the trick here is you have to turn your hand different directions so that you don't end up with like a pattern, because we don't want it to look like a pattern. And I'm just kind of crunching, and you can see I don't have a ton of paint on here. I tapped off over on the side to try to get rid of a lot of my excess paint, because I don't want big gobs of paint, and I really do want that texture. I don't want the paint to be too blended. So I'm coming back with a little more white. It's a little gray in some areas, and I'm just kind of dabbing and moving my hand around so I don't have a pattern, and we get this fun little kind of marble-ish stone look to our bunny. I'll just throw that away. So that's our bunny. Okay, so it's not too thick in any one place. There are a few spots where maybe the paint is a little bit thicker, but for the most part, it's a pretty thin coat with some little, I guess my hair is falling out, with some little just crackly pieces that kind of end up giving it that kind of stone marbly look. You could just paint it white, you could just paint it gray, you could have a brown bunny, whatever you want, but I just kind of wanted something a little different. So that's why we did that with the plastic. Just something a little fun. All right, let's grab some tape. I've got a piece over here I think will work. How do I want to attack this? Let's do our white first. I'm going to pull the sponge out of this kit here. And we're going to dip into our white. So we use the rectangle end of the makeup sponge. You're going to dip into your white, and then you're going to offload over on this side so you don't have a bunch of paint on your sponge. That is really important. A lot of times what I see is people just dip straight into the paint, and they come over here and they have big gobs of paint, and then that defeats the purpose of using the sponge. So I'm just very lightly tapping up and down over top of, I've got my bunnies, my carrot patch, and my egg hunt sign that I want to do. And by doing that, it keeps the paint from being pushed down inside of those etched lines so that I can still read all of my letters. If I painted this with a brush, I would most likely push a bunch of paint down into those etched lines, and you wouldn't be able to read the words anymore. And you could always come back and, you know, go over the words with a pen or whatever, but sometimes that's kind of a pain, and we don't want to have to do that. So this is why we use the makeup sponge. Just remember, every time I dip in here, I'm coming over here to the table and I'm offloading my paint. I know sometimes it's hard to tell because I have so much paint on my table and all my different colors on my plate here, what's going on where, but that is how I do that. So I can come back to this little pile here that I've offloaded into and pick up even more white and just go back over these with a second coat. We're going for thin coats of paint. We don't have to put all the paint on here at one time. If you notice that as you come over, you're not getting very good coverage, it's probably because that top layer hasn't dried yet. So give it just a second to dry, or dry it with a blow dryer. I love using this heat gun to dry my paint. It's a little heated craft tool. It's quiet, it's not super loud, doesn't overstimulate me, and it dries things very quickly and easily. All right, so now we can come back and see how I'm getting much better coverage this time. That's because that bottom layer was actually dry. So painting is about patience sometimes. You have to let things dry in between layers. A lot of times that's where we get frustrated because we just keep putting more paint on and we don't understand why it's not doing what we want it to do. Well, it's because you didn't give it time to dry in between. And if it's even just, if it's a little tacky, sometimes it will pull the old paint off because as you put new paint on, you're just reactivating what's underneath. So just a little tip, just take a few seconds and let it dry. Paint dries fairly fast. Okay, so we've got our carrot coop farm sign, carrot patch, egg hunt, and bunnies. I'm going to set those over to the side. We need to do the hoppy days. So Hoppy, and then days. Let's just grab a new piece of tape. I was going to try to use that one, but I don't think it's very sticky, so it's fine. And I just use, this is just painter's tape. We fold the ends under just a little bit and tape it down. So now I've got this sticky side up. And we're going to do our days. These pieces, are going to be yellow. So I'm just going to take that sponge, go straight into that yellow, dab it off, and come in and paint all of these letters. Yellow tends to be pretty transparent or translucent. If you've ever worked a class with me, you've probably heard me say I dislike yellow so much because I don't love the way that it covers things. So I'm going to let that dry for just a second because we're definitely going to need 2 coats. No, I'm going to dry it. I was going to be impatient and not do things in the right order. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to grab more yellow, come back in and do our hoppy days. See how much brighter that second coat is. If you're having trouble getting your yellow to cover, you can also put a coat of white down first, and a lot of times that will help your yellow pop a little bit more. These are so thin that I didn't feel like they needed that white base. They cover pretty well just like this, and we'll just do 3 quick coats on these, and have nice coverage there with that yellow. That's very bright. Okay. I need to go back over these, and I was going to just do it with a sponge because I kind of have this yellowy green on my sponge. So we're just going to go over all these little leafy pieces with that. Okay, remember, we're not worried about the stems because those are going to be covered with this 3D piece. Okay. The middle of this flower is yellow, so we'll go ahead and just start working on painting that so it can start drying because we need to do those petals in a pink. So I'm just going to plop some yellow right there in the middle, and then it can be drying while we're working on some other things. Okay, we need to do the letters for the word farms. So we'll grab a little piece of tape here, F-A-R-M-S. I will tell you these letters are pretty fragile, so just be gentle with them. And then we're going to pick up a little bit of black on that sponge, and we're going to kind of do black. I still have some of that yellow and stuff on there. I'm not worried about it because I know that the black is going to overtake all of that color, and it's going to be just fine. Very nice. Okay, we have some pink and purple stuff to do. So we've got 2 Easter eggs here. One is going to be pink and one is going to be purple. Just if you're new to our kits, if you look at the eggs and you can't decide which side's the front and which side's the back, this side looks much cleaner. This side, do you see this little burn mark up here at the top? And there's some down here by my thumb. Those are the back side. So that tells you that this is the back. Sometimes it's easy to tell which is which, and sometimes it's a little bit harder. So I like to kind of point that out. Because while it may not matter with these eggs, it would matter with some other pieces. So you always want to be sure you're painting the right side. All right, so we're doing up this egg in kind of a light purple. And we're gonna do double duty here. We're gonna do our eggs and our flowers all at the same time. These eggs have a little notch in them. That's where they're going to fit down inside that little base that we painted earlier. Okay. This piece, this is our topper. These little flowers here, we're going to do with the purple. And ideally, I would have not painted all of that green, but I got a little carried away. So it's fine. So we're doing this one here, and I'm just kind of going lightly to try not to get the edges too much. You could do this with your sponge. I would just say it's going to be harder to do with the sponge because of the angles and stuff on some of these petals. You could also just do this in like a nice crisp white and then put it over top of all the colors and it would be just fine as well. All right, and there's that. And then we're gonna do, this is so close to the pink. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this bigger flower in this same lavender color because I feel like it's gonna be so close to that pink that that's gonna be just fine. Especially with that green underneath, I don't think it's gonna matter. Okay. Now, could this use 2 coats? It could. I'm gonna give it 1 and call it a day, just because it's a little fussy and I don't want to mess with it and cause it to look. You know, sometimes when you keep going over things, that's what causes the issues. I think 1 coat's gonna be just fine. Okay. So we did, there are 4 flowers there, and I just did the outside of the petals. Okay. On this piece here, we're going to pick up, no, we're going to go back to that light purple and give this egg 1 more coat. I did pick up a little bit of that dark, but that's okay. Just give this a second coat of the lavender. And then we have our darker purple. We're going to intentionally grab a little bit of that. And we're going to come to the bottom of this egg and kind of put a little bit of that down. So it's kind of in the shape of a comma. I'm going to wipe my brush off without adding any more paint. I'm just going to go back and forth over top of that to try to make a little shadow here. And I kind of lost a lot of it, so I'm going to bring a little bit more in. And I'm really trying to keep it in that space. I'm not pulling it up into the lavender part of the egg. I want this shadow to stay on the bottom and to the side over here. Okay. So you'll notice I'm just kind of going back and forth until it blends, and then I'm wiping my brush off on my paper, on my towel, and then just kind of blending that line where those two colors meet. That just gives me this nice little shadow, and it's not a harsh line there. Okay, this egg is pink. Definitely gonna need 2 coats. So we'll do 1 quick coat there. We'll wipe our brush off. We're gonna come over here and do the pink on these petals. We're not being fussy about the lines because this piece is going over top and it's going to make everything look nice and clean. Okay, I'm just making sure that inside each one of these little shapes that I have some pink, and I'm not worried about the lines. Okay, wipe that brush off, grab the darker purple. Same thing for these flowers here. There are 3 of them. Okay, so give everything a quick dry, rinse that brush out really well, and come back for a second coat. All right, let's start with the yellow in the middle. Rinse this out, and then we'll put pink and do our petals. Perfect. We're going to wipe that off, grab the purple, and do these little purple guys. All right, set that to the side. Back to pink for this egg here. And I'm going to use, grab a tiny bit of red, like the tiniest bit, to do the shadow with this pink. So I've got pink and a teensy bit of red, and we're doing the bottom and the side of this egg, just like we did the purple one. The bottom and the side, we're putting that shadow color on, wiping the brush off, and then just going back and forth until we get it to where we like it. And you may have to do that once or twice, but I'm not pulling up into the rest of this egg until I'm sure that I don't have a whole bunch of excess paint on my brush. Okay, only once I know that I don't have a ton of paint on my brush am I coming into the lighter color. Now here I see that my darker color has started to come up into my light a little bit further than I wanted. So I pick up a little bit more of my baby pink, and I can bring it back in and then wipe the brush off and just go back and forth right where those two colors meet. Just back and forth right where the two colors meet. I'm not going down into the darker. I'm not pulling up into the lighter. I'm only focusing on the area where the colors are meeting, and I'm pulling that brush back and forth, back and forth. Shadows and highlights are really just a dance between your two colors, and you just keep blending them until you get them where you like them. A lot of times what I see is people stop too soon. They're afraid to blend, or people over blend and they end up with a whole new color. So I always say it's like Goldilocks. It has to be just right. But don't be afraid of that, because it's totally doable. It just takes practice of learning when to stop. And always remember, your paints are going to dry just a little bit darker than what they are when they're wet. I feel like this needs another coat, so I'm going to go back over this with another coat of white. I was just sitting there looking at it, and it was looking a little brown. And I suppose if we do that one, we should do these as well. Okay. All right, I think everything is done now. So we can start gluing everything together. I'm just going to give everything a quick dry just to be sure that nothing is wet. And I do not see my glue. Might be interesting. I have no idea where my glue went. I have this one, but I'd rather not use it. All right, we're going to try to make this work. Inside your kit, you're going to have a tube of glue, craft glue. So we usually send you B7000 or E6000. One thing to know is this is not a quick dry glue. It does have a dry time on it, so you're going to want to let everything lay flat for 24 hours before you set it up. Otherwise, it's going to seem like your pieces are set, and you're going to come and set it up, and it's going to look all cute. And then you're going to come back and it's not going to be dry, and that's going to be sad. So don't do that. I use a bigger bottle of glue when I am sitting here gluing these, just because those little bottles tend to be a little pricey, and I don't need to keep opening a whole bunch of those. And I don't know where my little bottle is, so we're going to use, I have a little refillable bottle. We're going to use our brush and just brush this glue on, and it will be fine. I would say when you are using the glue, you want to do just a dot, not a lot. I always run the glue right up against the edges of the pieces so that I don't have big globs of glue that are going to seep out. The great thing about the glue is it's going to dry clear. So, you know, if you do get a little bit of glue seeping out from underneath, it's not the end of the world, because it will dry clear. So we're just gluing down our letters here for Hoppy Days. Hoppy Days. You can use a paintbrush with the tiny tubes of glue as well if you feel like that's easier. Just use a brush that you don't care about, because getting glue out of paintbrush bristles is dang near impossible. And so the brush will probably forever just be a glue brush. So don't use your best paintbrush to apply glue. If you're not already a member of our Wagon Club and you would like to learn more, you can find out more about our Wagon Club on our website at holyrustic.com. If you click on subscription boxes and you go to Wagon Club, you'll be able to see some of our past boxes, read some reviews, and have the opportunity to join the Wagon Club. It is a monthly subscription box that's delivered to your door each month with a reoccurring payment. You can cancel at any time. There's no commitment involved. So you can sign up for 1 month, you can sign up for 24 months, however long you would like to be in the wagon club. Our wagon and a shelf that you can also put these pieces on, I've sold on our website. Each month's wagon kit is exclusive to the club, so these kits are not put on the website for at least a year. So the only way to get these is through the wagon club. All right, I'm going to do up this sign post here. Oh, that was a lot of glue. Let's try and move that around a little bit. Okay, I'm going to let's glue these letters down because I've got a lot of glue there. So we're going to use it up. If you have any questions about the Wagon Club, you can drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer those for you. So like I said, each month you're going to get your box. Inside your box is going to be all of your exclusive pieces for that month's design, an inspiration photo that you can use to paint with, some basic directions, your paint colors that match the inspiration photo, and a makeup sponge and glue. So all you need is like maybe 1 or 2 paintbrushes and, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours of time, however long you want to spread that out for. And then you also get a coupon code that you can use on any of the other wagon items on our website, which is pretty nice. All right, we're going to glue this down. So it says Carrot Coop Farms. It goes here at the top. And then you can put these on in whatever order you want. We've got Carrot Patch, Egg Hunt, and a Bunnies. I guess you have to put them on in that order or they'd be upside down. Okay. There is that. And then we need to do this little guy here. Try not to get too much glue. I don't know, I kind of like putting the glue on like this. Definitely gives me a nice thin coat, especially on all these little pieces. I probably won't like it once I realize that this brush can never be used again. All right, there's our glue, and we're gonna just match that up and set it down. Now there is a little lip down here at the bottom. That's what goes inside that little stand. I don't think that I need to glue this grass on. Debating. I think this grass, the small grass piece goes, oops, down here at the bottom of these flowers. So I do think we need to glue that piece. Come on. And then it's hard to tell how much glue I'm getting because this is not a completely full bottle. And so I either dip down not far enough or too far. All right, let's put that over there. Okay. Perfect. Let's just give everything a quick dry. I do want to let this lay flat, but I'm going to set it up just so I can show you how to use the base piece that is included in this kit, because that is kind of new. Not all of the wagon. I can't remember the last time we had a Wagon Club box that had one of those in it, so it's a little different. But it does make everything stand up really nicely in your wagon. You could also just nestle these pieces down in your wagon and it would be just fine. This just gives you a little more height and kind of organizes everything. So this piece here, and we didn't paint it terribly well because it's not going to show, so I wasn't really worried about it. But you're just going to put all of these pieces in the slots, and you're pretty much just going to line up, you know, the grass is long, so it gets the first slot, obviously. the eggs just have a little tab. There we go. So they're going to go in these ones with the little tabs. And you could glue these in here, but they are pretty tight fit. Well, honestly, what I would do is take your wagon. Let's take our St. Patty's Day out. And I would take your wagon. Oops. And I do have some brown paper in the bottom here that I use to just kind of elevate the pieces in my wagon. So I would just set this in your wagon like this so that you can put your pieces in. I wouldn't try to do what I was just doing, where I was like making it on the table. And if I actually kind of want that up a little bit higher. So let's put a little more paper in the bottom here. Let me just crumple this up. You could put some Easter grass in here, would look really cute too. But I kind of want this to set more like this, I think. I think it will give me, it'll look nicer from the front. And so then we're just gonna set all of these in here. Oopsies. You go there. You go there. A little carrot patch sign. It's gonna go over here. And if you hit it, everything's gonna fall. Okay, if you're not trying to do this for a video, it's gonna work out just fine. And our bunny, there him is. So look how cute that is. Let's do this. There we go. So there's our cute little Easter wagon. So I'm probably going to put some moss or maybe some Easter grass in the bottom here to kind of stabilize this a little bit better. The paper has it kind of cattywampus. It's tilted a little bit. And then my Hoppy Days sign is going to go right here on the front. Like I said, this is easier to do when you're not upside down and backwards and all the things. Well, there we go. How stinking cute is that? I love it, and it's all ready for Easter. Oh my goodness. Okay. Shoo. So, let me know if you have any questions about how to display your wagon. You can decide whether you want to glue the pieces in or not. I'm not going to glue mine into that base because I want to be able to take them out and lay them flat inside a Ziploc baggie at the end of the season because that's how I store my wagon pieces. So I'm not going to glue them in that base. They're going to be a little more stable if you glue them in the base, but I know that once I get it set up and on my mantle that it's not going to matter. I think the trick here is going to be just making sure you have enough in the bottom of your wagon that this piece sets pretty level. And so, like I said, you could do tissue paper because I mean this doesn't look really nice, but you could do tissue paper. You could do Easter grass would look really cute, or something like that, just so that you have something to set. You're gonna want to set this up a little bit higher than your usual wagon pieces go, so that you can see everything. Otherwise, you're really not going to be able to see like the grass and the eggs. So this one's a little bit different than our normal kit, but I really liked it. I thought it was super cute. And like I said, you could, if you don't want to use that base, you could just put these pieces in here, just like that. And they would look just as cute. You know, we could put the grass. Wouldn't be super visible. But we could put the grass down there and, you know, put the eggs over here. If you don't want to use the base, I think it would work out just fine. It's hard to do while you're holding it in the air. But you can see what I'm saying. Like that's how we would normally put our pieces in our wagon. And so you could do that like that too if you prefer that look and you don't want to use that base. The base is just there to kind of help hold everything up a little bit higher in your wagon. So I hope that you enjoyed painting your Wagon Club box this month. If you painted this month's box, I would love to see pictures. So be sure and drop those in a comment or send them in an email to me at info@holyrustic.com because I really enjoy seeing your pictures. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.